In his first administration, he got us $8.2 trillion in debt, and you're trying to make the case that he's saving money for the nation with these tariffs, with the American consumers suffering because of it, taking away food stamps and Medicaid for people, and you have the audacity to say, geez, I really like what he did with this. He might have saved us a few million dollars. There's somebody on the line named Democratic MAGA. I don't know what that means, but we'll go to line 4 and we'll find out. Democratic MAGA, hello, are you there?
Brian, what is up?
Hello.
So, yes, sir. So I want to first, because I know what you're going to say, I'm going to be honest. I honestly voted for a guy that cheated on his wife multiple times, got caught, lied about it to the American people, but I still like Bill Clinton and John Kennedy, who did drugs in office. So that is true. I did vote for those two guys to compare apples to apples. Second point, you said everyone is racist because they don't want a black woman to be president. Does that mean all the Democrats
hold on a
are
second.
racist?
Hold on a second.
Those are not your
Hold on a second. I don't tolerate people who misquote things that I say.
Okay, go ahead, tell me.
Well, I never said that if you don't vote for Kamala Harris, that means you're a racist. Where are you getting that?
I said that America was not ready to have a black woman and a female be president. And yes, I think a lot of it was based on racism. That's what I said, to be accurate.
Okay, well, and my response to that is it's all the Democrats. And the reason I say that is when she ran for president in the Democratic primary, she got 4% of the Democratic vote.
Okay, so what? Why are we talking about Kamala Harris now when Donald Trump is a pedophile who's the president of the United States?
He's trying to change the subject.
Well, hold on. Let's talk about this. Hold on, Mr. Democrat MAGA. I don't know what that means because if you're MAGA,
let me explain to you what that means. Here's what that means. So I listen to your show because I love it, and I listen, and you make a ton of good points. But everything is there's never one positive thing about Republicans. So then I go on.
That's not true. That's not true. Nope. I'm going to cut you off. That's not true.
Everything, but very
well. Then
very
don't
little.
say. Well, then don't make generalizations about me that are not true. I don't appreciate that. Okay, I agree with Republicans on some issues, capital punishment being one of them. But at the same time, I'm curious, sir. You called into the show to criticize Kamala Harris when
I think what he was trying to say is that it wasn't completely racist.
All right,
but most of it was.
There are a lot of people in this country that did not vote for Kamala Harris because she's black and because she's a woman. Now, if you disagree with me, you have the right to disagree with me, but they're just like there are a lot of people in this country that wouldn't vote for Pete Buttigieg because he's gay. Now, those people are idiots and bigots, sir, but did you vote for Donald Trump?
And you're not going to believe this. I'll tell you the honest truth. I was going to finish my sentence. So then I listened to Fox, and they have never, ever had anything good to say about Democrats.
Did he not answer?
Did you? Who did you vote for? Who did you vote for?
This is a swear-to-God truth. I'm going to tell you. I did vote for Harris. I held my nose and voted for her because it was the lesser of two evils to me.
It wasn't the lesser of two evils.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Why is Kamala Harris evil?
Well, that's just a terminology.
Okay, then maybe you shouldn't use that because
she's the lesser of.
It's hyperbole. It's not true.
It's not true. You want to know who's evil? I'm going to tell you who's evil. The man who's in the Epstein files. The man who's a 34-count felon. The man who brags about going into teenage locker rooms. That's evil behavior. What is your problem with Kamala Harris?
What's wrong with saying that you didn't vote for Trump for good, positive reasons? What's wrong with saying that? What's wrong with saying I didn't want to vote for a guy?
Sir, I'm not trying to give you a hard time here, but what's so bad about Kamala Harris? Tell me, please.
Well, I didn't. I'm not the only one. The Democratic Party gave her 4%.
I don't care. I don't care the way people voted. I'm asking you.
75 million votes.
Hold on. I don't care what the percentage of whatever you're. That's irrelevant to this conversation.
It was the primary.
Tell me. Forget about.
She lost to Biden.
I don't care about that. I'm asking you right now. What was so bad about Kamala Harris? Tell me.
I think publicly, just trouble putting together. There's a million clips of her not being able to put sentences.
Clips of her not being able to put sentences together? Are you kidding me?
Compared to Sleepy Trump?
Policy? Well, that's true too. But what policy, I could really get behind?
Sure.
Now, there's a million.
Sure. Let's ask you about that. Let's ask you.
How about building 4 million new houses because the low low-income people were short on housing. That was one of her
How
policies.
about lowering the tax rate for household incomes that are
lowering insulin?
Under $400,000 a year? How about continuing Plan B and Plan D on everybody's health care coverage when it comes to capping insulin?
How about
what about
bringing
raising
back Roe versus Wade?
What about bringing back Roe versus Wade? What about raising minimum wage? What about
she didn't bring back Roe versus Wade?
She was gonna. That was her
that was
policy.
part of her platform, which obviously you didn't even pay attention to. How could I have
she didn't change that?
How could she change it if she's the vice president? The vice president.
So that's what I'm saying.
What do you mean that's what you're saying?
Policies
All right,
are what you
hold on
put
a
out
second.
before you
Hold
get
on,
elected.
hold on. She was the. I'm going to try to calm down here, sir. Okay, but you're
Okay,
making it
calm
really
down.
hard on me. Okay. She was the freaking vice president of the United States. The vice president of the
With
United
very
States
little
doesn't
power,
implement
though.
policy. When she ran
No.
for president of the United States,
Yes.
part of her platform was she said she was going to try to bring back Roe versus Wade. What part of that do you not understand?
She's going to bring it back from it was already there.
Yes,
Bring it back
that-
from what?
that's
Yes,
what I'm-
she's going to put it on the table to try to get it back to what
Sir,
it was.
I'm
before
trying
it
to
was
be as
changed.
nice as
It's
I
a
can.
policy. That is a position.
Sir,
That's
I
a platform.
appreciate you being a fan of the show, and don't take this the wrong way, but you are a very low information
What's a
voter.
Dem MAGA?
What is a Democratic MAGA? Yeah, that's a good question, Leonard.
What's a Dem MAGA? If you're MAGA at all, you're MAGA. That's
No,
like
well,
saying
yes
that
and
you're
no.
a partial pedophile. If you're a pedophile, you're a pedophile.
And you
There's no
called
partial-
Kamala Harris-
That's going a little bit
You
extreme.
called
on that.
No, I'm
Kamala-
just using an ex-
hold on.
That's just an example.
You called Kamala Harris evil, then you backtracked on that, okay?
Well, Brian, you know that's a figure of.
No, I don't.
You
No,
know
I
it's
don't.
That's a
farther than
Republican
that.
talking
It's a
point.
Leonard's right.
You've
It's a
never
That's a
heard the
Republican
laughter
talking
of
You
two
couldn't
eagles.
name one policy that you like under Kamala Harris. That's ridiculous. That's idiocy. That's ridiculous.
Well, but what I'm saying is there are policies on both sides that I like.
Give me
Which
some
puts us down the
policies.
middle. I'm an
Give me some
independent.
policies
let's
that
start
Donald
there.
Trump has implemented in the first 6 months that you think are great policies for the United States of America.
Well, one, I like NATO paying their fair share. I like us not footing the bill for that. I like us selling.
Okay, hold on.
Let's money is not being.
Let's do one at a
ahead.
time, because I don't want you, sir, to roll off a bunch of things and then we forget which ones you said. Let's start about conserving money. Okay, you like the fact that in that situation you think Donald Trump saved the nation money. Is that what you're saying? Is that a fair characterization?
In that particular case, he didn't
Gotcha.
save us money, but he got not NATO to pay more. They're
Gotcha.
They're obligated to.
Okay,
Yes.
so you're for Doge and you're for conserving money, government money. Is that a fair characterization?
Correct, and I know where
Okay.
you're going. I'm not for the big beautiful bill. No.
Okay, well then don't bring that up then.
Well, then it doesn't make
Because
sense.
I don't have to be for everything. I can be.
You care that you're
independent and choose.
fiscally conservative, and you care, and you're praising Donald Trump for saving the United States money when he's going to get us trillions of dollars more in debt. In his first administration, he got us $8.2 trillion in debt, and you're trying to make the case that he's saving money for the nation with these tariffs, with the American consumers suffering because of it, taking away food stamps
No.
and Medicaid for people, and you have the audacity to say, geez, I really like what he did with this. He might have saved us a few million dollars.
You're twisting what I said. So
Can
here,
I say something,
that could- Yeah, go
Dem
ahead,
MAGA? Can I say something? So the reason why
ahead.
Donald Trump pushed for more money to be put into NATO was so that he could help the manufacturers in America who sell weapons of war. So when the weapons of war go to Ukraine, they can pass them through NATO, which he's done, and NATO has to pay the bill. So he's helping
Correct.
out the warmongers. And you agree with that?
Well, it's put. Now you say people lose their job because of this and that. That's creating American jobs, manufacturing.
It's not.
independence.
No, it came out of surplus. We will not create more surplus to sell to
Joe
NATO.
Biden had the lowest
They sold them bombs. They sold them Patriot missiles out of our surplus. That's what they did.
Joe Biden had some of the lowest unemployment numbers in decades, so you can't make the
Well,
argument.
here's the other thing too. That on your argument too, that you said another good thing. We've been giving Iran billions of dollars.
Joe
We
Biden
bombed
froze
them,
those
and you
assets.
went
Not
online-
true. Not true. Joe
Well,
Biden froze those
Obama
assets.
did.
Joe Biden froze the
Obama-
assets. Do you
okay,
know what
look,
that?
can-
hold
can-
hold
can
on
I-
one
here's
second.
one-
Do you know what that money was supposed to be used for? Do you know why Obama did that? I bet you have no
to
idea.
help expedite the inspections of the nuclear weapons.
No, you're wrong. That's not what that money was be allocated to. Why don't you learn about what that money was supposed to be used for before you criticize a president?
That was part of the agreement,
Well-
but the
well,
money
you
was money that
criticize-
we owed them from sanctions that we lifted.
And by the way, Barack Obama
but
didn't
you
drop.
also
Barack
said-
Obama. Hold on a second. Barack Obama didn't drop any bombs in Iran. Guess who did?
No.
Guess who did? Okay, guess who did? Donald Trump. He got us into an ill-advised war because he took the intelligence of Benjamin Netanyahu. But I don't hear you criticizing that. But you want to talk about Barack Obama.
Are we in a war? I didn't see grounds in a troop in a battle.
So let me get this. So let me get this straight. So let me get this straight. We can bomb another country, but according to your standards, which are illogical, if boots aren't on the ground,
it's not a
war. Is that your definition? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
So you're telling me a one-time bombing means we're now in a war?
First of all, let me ask you a question.
It's an act of war.
Let's go by your definition.
Are we
let's
in war?
go by.
Are we in war right now?
Okay, I'm going to respond to you, but let's go by your idiocy, for lack of a better term. You're telling me if another country bombed us, but they didn't put any troops on the ground, you wouldn't call it a war? You wouldn't say we're at war?
That makes no sense.
What the hell are you talking about?
Not the same, because when
not the same.
How many times have the Houthis bombed Israel?
Were we in war with Libya when we bombed Libya? Were we at war with them?
When you bomb another country,
so
you are at
war with Libya.
Okay? Now,
that's
let me be very clear on this. Okay, our
Korea,
own intelligence,
Libya.
according to Tulsi Gabbard several months ago when she was under oath, that our intelligence said that they were not advancing any nuclear capabilities. Donald Trump decided to listen to Israel once again. Guess who else listened to Israel? A guy by the name of George W. Bush, when he got us into an ill-advised war and there were no weapons of mass destruction. This is a joke. And guess what?
But is this
if we weren't at war, I'm wondering why the pet killer, what's her name, Kristi Noem, put us under a 3-month terrorist watch in the United States of America, and the supreme leader of Iran is threatening this country. So for you to sit there and to say that we are not at war is a joke.
He put a bounty.
It's a joke.
Can I circle back to Iran for a second? Because you need to understand where that money came from that Obama gave to Iran. So we had massive sanctions, and we closed down their banks because we didn't want them to get nuclear weapons. So when the agreement was signed, all the United States, we didn't give them money like a bribe. What we did was we removed the sanctions and we gave them the money that they were already due anyway because of the sanctions. And removing them was part of the agreement so they wouldn't enrich uranium and they wouldn't build nuclear bombs. It was an agreement. Nothing to do with giving them money.
Let me ask you a few questions, sir. Let me just ask you a few questions about Donald Trump, if that's okay, sir. Okay. Are you okay with people not getting due process in this country? Are you okay with that?
So now due process, I don't know if you got that completely right. So here's the deal.
What does it say in the Constitution?
One definition of due process.
Okay, any person. So don't say I didn't get it right.
So let's just say, and Leonard will know this, if I am driving drunk,
here comes the ridiculous analogy.
And get in an accident, I don't get due process tomorrow.
What are you talking about?
Home.
What are you talking about? If you're in a drunk driving accident, you get due process.
Okay,
what are you talking about?
When I show up on the scene, your due process starts right there.
Yeah, what are you
because
talking
I'm
about?
not allowed to assume that you're drunk. I'm not allowed to assume that it was the accident was your fault. I have to do a field sobriety test under certain rules and laws and guidelines. So literally, when you show up on the scene, your due process starts there.
So bad example.
Okay, but then what happens is I go home for a month or 2 months or 6 months until my day in court comes.
Okay.
I'm presumed innocent until I don't get due process.
Were they
tomorrow.
sent to an El Salvador prison?
Hey, let me tell you what's happened to the immigrants. They're going 6 months later to the court, and you know what happens?
They're getting arrested.
Yes, they're revoking their status. They're canceling their hearing, and they're arresting them and putting in white
so
vans
now that you're
carting them away.
proven wrong on that analogy, I'm going to ask you the same question again because you didn't answer it.
You don't get due process tomorrow. Like if you get arrested today, you don't get due process.
You get it the minute
tomorrow.
the cop shows up.
What are you talking about?
Okay, then how come P. Diddy is in prison for a year?
Because he was convicted, and the judge
they denied bail. He's a billionaire. He's a billionaire, and they denied him bail.
So why'd they put him in jail if he didn't get due process? He put him right in jail.
How could you say
they had probable cause? That has nothing to do with
what do you
probable cause? So if you're here illegally, we have probable cause that you're here illegally.
No, you don't. That's called
probable cause. Has nothing to do with due process. If you're here illegally and you're saying that's reasonable suspicion to stop someone, and you find out they're here illegally, guess what? you still get due process. The fact that you broke the law is irrelevant in all cases in America. And what Brian was saying is it doesn't just apply to criminals or people committing crimes. It applies to all people who live in the United States.
I don't think you understand what due process is. You keep
found
bringing up P.
innocent,
Diddy. He had a
I'm
defense.
just saying this as an example. That's a major example. If he
They
found
indicted
innocent,
him.
It's a stupid example.
They indicted
then
him
he
and they
was
booked
in
him.
prison. But they put him in prison.
A grand
and he could be
jury.
found innocent.
A grand jury indicted him. Can you tell me that all these people that are being deported, some nonviolent criminals sent to El Salvador prisons, are getting indicted by grand juries? Do you not understand
Do you
what
know
due
what happens
process
on a
is?
DUI if you can't afford to bail out? Do you know what happens? You stay in jail until you see the judge.
Let me ask you something. Are you okay with the tariffs where the American consumers are putting up billions and billions of dollars? Are you good with that,
Well,
sir? You think that's good for the
So
economy?
here's the funny thing about that. So
There's nothing
yes or
funny
no.
about it.
One, the stock market is at a record high. So is
Guess
the,
what? There's a lot of
S&P.
most people in this country are not invested in the stock market.
And stock markets are futures. They have nothing to do with actual
Yeah,
money.
and guess what?
Yeah,
Most
and
most
then
people
also,
most
I
people
was
in this
on-
country are not invested in the stock market. Do you understand that? Stop talking
But
about
I
the
would say-
market.
And they're predictions. They're
that doesn't-
futures. They have nothing to do with
they-
real money.
So yes, it does. So
It does not.
If I'm Westinghouse or Coca-Cola, they're projecting out how's my sales going to be in a year.
How many deals has he made? How many deals
You
has
could
he
go
made?
invest in Coca-Cola and lose
Hold on.
millions.
How many deals has he made? Remember when they said 90 deals in 90 days? Is the art of the deal, right? How many deals has he made, sir?
So according to BBC, there were deals because I like to watch that too.
How
to get
many
a
deals? Why
worldwide
can't you just
So,
answer
so
a
again,
question?
I don't know 100%.
You don't know 100%. There have been 2 deals made. I do know 100%. You don't know 100% anything.
100%. You would bet your house on there's only been 2 deals
No,
made.
no. Yeah, because that's yes, that's 100%. I'll bet anything,
And
sir.
so
just
what-
like I
what
would,
is
just
your-
like I would bet like your IQ is under 30. I would bet on that as well.
So what is your source on 2 deals?
The White
only?
House, the White House, the White House, because the only deals,
What does that mean?
MSNBC.
What is-
The White House.
What is, but
the
what
only
White
deals
House?
that have been signed in ink that even Caroline Leavitt has admitted in front of reporters is that 2 deals have been made, and then they're claiming that all these letters that have been written to all these countries.
And most of them are framework. What he's
right.
talking about.
Framework of deals
Yes,
is not a
that's
deal.
what he's
okay,
talking about.
you don't seem to understand or know the difference. What do you think about the biggest tax breaks to the top 1% in the history of this country? What do you think about that? You think that's
So
good
let
for
me-
the economy?
One last thing with can I go? One last thing with tariffs, real quick.
Well, why don't you answer
What
my
if-
question? Why don't you
Well, I
answer a
wanted to go
question
back-
directly? What do you think
Okay,
about the
well,
biggest tax breaks for the top 1% in the United States of America in the history of this country in the big and beautiful bill? Do you think that's good for the country?
No.
You don't.
And again, that's because I'm not 100% on either side. I'm down the if
Right, you're down. You're down the middle. But you seem to can't name one reason why you
If you
didn't
don't
vote
stand
for
for
Kamala
something,
Harris.
if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for
one quick question
anything.
on the tariffs. What if? And I'm just asking because I don't know. What if every country, including us, just said there were no tariffs? We don't tariff you. You don't tariff us. The whole world has no tariffs. Like, what would happen?
Nobody is
Why-
saying that. In fact, many
But why-
people.
I'm just
I'm
asking, what if
answering
you
your
did that?
question. Many people across the world, including politicians in this country, thinks tariffs can be used in a positive way. But there is a reason why nobody has ever done what Donald Trump has done, because it's a joke. It's ruining our
He
economy.
doesn't understand
He
that
doesn't-
tariffs come
right.
out of our pocket.
Exactly. It's
That's what MAGAs
The
don't
White
understand.
House is bragging about how the government has made billions of dollars off of these tariffs because they made it off the American consumer.
paying it.
We're the ones that are paying for it, and everybody else in the world is laughing. You think when these world leaders like President Xi and others get a letter, you think that's a deal? If I write a letter to Jessica Alba saying that I want to marry you, do you think Jessica Alba would say
If I
yes?
write a letter to my
because
mortgage
it's a-
company
Yeah.
saying I'm not paying my mortgage, I made a new deal.
Well, then
you can't do
but
that.
Why? But if that's the case, then why do other countries put tariffs on us if it's going to destroy and charge? And raise
Because
all
they're
their-
not. Because they're not doing what Donald Trump is doing. That's you don't
They have
understand the
tariffs. Every
difference.
country in the world has tariffs on us.
Do you
Every
not
single one.
understand the
No, they
difference?
don't. That's not
That's
accurate.
also not
That is
true.
not
But do you not
accurate.
understand
What
what?
country does not?
Vietnam.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Well, now you do.
Okay, let's say
All right.
let's say
Well,
90%. What'd you say?
Sir,
All right, I'll call you tomorrow, Brian.
I-
Remember,
I have-
getting
MAGA, Democratic MAGA.
you're not a
What?
Democrat.
There's no such thing.
You're not a Democrat. There's no such thing as a Democratic MAGA, and you couldn't
That's
even
like saying
name
reality is a
You
concept.
couldn't even name one policy you like from the person that you voted for, which I find very daunting. And you said you voted for the lesser of two evils. You couldn't name one policy under Kamala Harris that you like. and yet you keep defending Donald Trump. I don't think you're a Democrat, and I don't think you're a MAGA. I would call you a right-wing buffoon who has TFS, also known as Trump fellatio syndrome.